Okay, hope that I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So what we will do, little bit of things which we left on that day that I will first of all discuss, and then I will go to the next topic. Okay. So let me give you a brief idea what we did. So last time we talked about the co-maximal graph, right? And we observed that the co-maximal graphs are weakly perfect due to this result is due to Sharma and Bhatodekar. Okay, and the adjacency is known to you. This is what the adjacency. Ideal generated by X plus ideal generated by Y is whole ring R. Then we will say that X and Y are adjacent. That was the adjacency. Then what we did, we draw some examples of co-maximal graphs and all whatnot. Then little bit of poset theory we discussed, and if you are able to recall, what is a poset partially ordered set? It's a non-empty set with a partial ordering relation. Okay, and usually the relation is denoted by less equal, which is reflexive, antisymmetric, and transitive. So then that P with this relation becomes a partially ordered set, and this poset becomes a lattice. Okay, so P with suppose less equal, if this is my poset, okay, then this becomes a lattice. Okay, this is a lattice if supremum of any two elements and infimum of any two elements exist for all pairs AB, then we will say that the poset is a lattice. Okay, the poset is a lattice. Simple example you can see here. This is a Hasse diagram of a poset, right? And let me go for A, B, C, D. Let us name it. As I told you in the last lecture, the smallest element is denoted by 0.
You are on mute.
Yeah.
Now we can hear you.
Yeah. Now you can see that if I take C and D, it's lower cone. Lower cone means elements which are below both C and D. So what are those elements which are below C and D? Namely, A is there, B is there, and 0 is there. Okay. Can you see it? Can you see it? CDL, that is the lower cone of C and D, is A, B, and 0. But you can observe that if I look at the greatest among CDL, lower cone, is there any greatest element among this AB0? Answer is no. So you will not get infimum. So infimum is not there. Okay, so this is not there. So infimum do not exist, right? So this is a poset which is not a lattice. This is a poset which is not a lattice because C mid D is not there. C mid D is not there. So you must get the infimum of any pair of elements. So CD is a pair whose infimum is not there. Similarly, I can go one step ahead and I can say that AB, its join is not there. Okay, because its join A and B, its upper cone will consist of two elements, namely C and D. Okay, but again they are incomparable. They are not comparable, and that's why it's not a lattice. Okay, so supremum is not there, infimum is not there, and therefore it's not a lattice. It's a poset only, partially ordered set. So these are few things which we already observed. Then we talked about the zero divisor graph of an ordered set. Okay, we talked about the zero divisor graph of ordered set. So what we did here is we looked at the power set of 3 elements. This is my power set of 3 elements. Now, if I want to write in the set theoretic form, then I can say that this is my singleton 1, singleton 2, singleton 3. This will be 1, 2, 1, 3, and this is 2, 3. And this will be what? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is a power set. Now, the adjacent figure is the figure of the zero divisor graph. Now you can see that Q1 and Q2, what is the lower cone of that? 0 is the only element. 0 is the only element which is below Q1 and Q2. And as far as the zero divisor graphs are concerned, what is the adjacency? Adjacency is A is adjacent to B if and only if ABL, that is the lower cone of A and B, is 0. Lower cone of A and B is 0. Then we will say that A and B are adjacent. Okay, so that's why Q1 and Q2 are adjacent. Similarly, you can check that Q2 and Q3 are adjacent, and so on and so forth. Right here, this is Q3, not this is Q3, huh? Not star. This is Q3. It's not star. So this is the zero divisor graph, and here little bit of bigger picture I do have. This is the power set of 4 elements, 2 to the power 4. It's a power set of, or I can say that in terms of hypercube, I can say that it's a Q4. This is Q4, right? This is a hypercube Q4. Now you have these elements are known as, which are exactly above 0, they are known as atoms. They are known as atoms. So naturally we have 4 atoms. Naturally we have 4 atoms. Now, if I want to color this graph, this is my GP. You can see that you have K4 here. Can you see it now, K4 here? This is my K4. Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. They are adjacent to each other. Essentially, these atoms forms a clique. Okay, the set of atoms forms a clique. So naturally K4 is there. So naturally you need at least 4 colors to color this graph. Okay, you need at least 4 colors to color this graph. Then what I can do now, I can give, if now we don't have much time, I can give exactly 4 colors to color this graph. So essentially 4 colors are enough to color this graph. 4 colors are enough to color this graph. Now one can see here, the number of atoms are 4. Number of atoms are 4, and you need 4 colors to color this graph. If I look at the next picture again, here also you have 4 color. Here you have K4. You can see here it is K4. Can you see it now? Here again you have K4. Again, so irrespective of what you can, this is a poset. This is not a lattice. Huh? Keep in mind, this is not a lattice. Because what is the, if I consider Q1 and Q2, what are the elements which are in the upper cone? Q1, Q2, it's U. What are the elements which are there in the upper cone?
Q3 star, Q4 star.
Q4 star, Q3 star.
Q4 core and 1 is there naturally.
1 is there.
Yeah. But what is the least element among these Q4 star, Q3 star and 1?
Does not exist.
That is not there. So it's not a lattice, it's a poset. It's a poset with 4 atoms. And this is moreover, those who are familiar with what you can say poset theory, this is a Boolean poset. And there is a very interesting construction of Boolean poset, which states that if you look at, this is a power set of what you can say 4 elements. What I did exactly, I removed this part. Just throw it out. how I'm throwing out, you can see here Q12. Q12 stands for, if I say Q1 is my singleton 1, Q2 is my singleton 2, Q3 is singleton 3, Q4 is singleton 4. What will be Q12? That will be doubleton 1, 2. Q13 will be doubleton 1, 3, and so on and so forth. So Q12, its complement is Q34. You can see it here. Okay, so I'm throwing out. Then if I take Q13, okay, here is 2, 4. Again, complements are here. Then what I can do further is Q14 and Q23. So essentially what I did, I removed W reducible elements. These are known as W reducible. Means, what do we mean by this? You can see that there are 2 tentacles down and up, at least. Okay, at least 2 lines are coming down, 2 lines are going up, so they are W reducible. Irreducible, we have only 1 line there. Okay, so complementary pairs of W reducible elements, if you throw it out, okay, whatever you are getting from the power set, that becomes a Boolean poset, and this is what exactly the Boolean poset. And again, though the graph is a little smaller, and here also, since Q4 is sitting inside, you need 4 colors. Again, the bigger structure has nothing to do with the graph coloring. You need again 4 colors to color this graph. Similarly, here you have Q5 Boolean poset with 5 atoms, and you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here is Q. This is my K5. Here is my K5. Can you observe now K5? Is that okay?
Yes.
Right. So here you need 5 colors. So essentially, the number of atoms are playing a crucial role while determining the number of colors which are required to color the graph.
So is it, excuse me, so you are removing all the in-between things?
Yes, in this case, but it is not necessary. If I
Okay.
go a little, so if I want to say, for example, if I want to remove Q12, then I must remove Q34.
3, 4.
Complementary pairs,
Okay.
and keep as it is. Whatever you are getting, that will be a Boolean poset, not a Boolean algebra, Boolean lattice.
Okay.
That will be a Boolean poset. Okay. So
Okay.
just throw it out, W reducible elements. That's a
Okay.
very nice construction of Boolean posets from a power set.
Okay.
Okay, so a little bit of examples of Boolean posets I consider here, the posets and their zero divisor graphs, and the color which we require to color this graph. Now, as I told you, our main motto on that day, I could not explain in detail as such because of time constraint there. Main motive here is to partition the ring R. Main motive is to partition the ring R. And what we are doing, we are looking at a finite commutative ring with identity. This is the first important thing. And since ring is finite, I do have finitely many maximal ideals. Let us call them M1, M2, M3, M4, and so on, Mn. What is U of R? U of R is set of units, and J of R set of all elements which are sitting inside the Jacobson radical. Okay, this is the intersection of all maximal ideals. Okay, that is my Jacobson radical.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Please, can you repeat the definition of Jacobson radical?
J of R is intersection of MIs. What is MIs? MIs are maximal ideals. MIs are maximal.
Okay,
ideals.
thank you.
Okay, and since we are in the finite ring, we do have finite intersection. Okay, now, so what is main target? Main target is to construct a poset from the ring. Not only that, just not to construct the poset, but construct the poset in such a way that the co-maximal graph of R is same as ZD. ZD stands for zero divisor graph of, say, that poset P. Let us call this is my poset P. So what I am doing now, from a ring structure, I'm constructing a poset structure. From ring structure, I'm constructing a poset structure. Not only that, what is the essential part of the poset? The zero divisor graph of that poset is nothing but the co-maximal graph of that ring R. And since this construction is over, I can directly apply many of the results which are available for the zero divisor graphs of ordered sets directly to the co-maximal graphs. And in fact, because of this construction, we could achieve many more results, because we did a lot of work in zero divisor graphs of ordered sets, and many results becomes a corollary of our results. Okay, so let us look at that construction, what I'm doing. I'm repeating the construction here. We will go a little slower so that the things will be much more clear to you. Now, for understanding, suppose I have M1, M2, M3, M4. These are my 4 maximal ideals. Okay, for understanding purpose. Then I'm going for, say, let us say R12. What is R12? It will be a set of those elements X in R such that X is in M1 intersection M2, and this is more important, and X is not in. Is this part clear to all of you? What do you mean by R12? Those X which are in M1 and M2 but not in M3 and M4. Right? Of course, then I know that there, if I take any unit, it won't sit in any of the maximal ideal. Okay, and that set I'm denoting by R5. What is my R5? R5 is a set of all those units essentially. R5 is a set of all units. Now, when
Sir, that X does not belongs to M3 union M4 or M3 intersection M4?
No, not union. It's a union. It's a both.
Okay.
It is not in both. Not in both.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the, and when I look at R1, 2 up to N, in this case, I'm looking at R1, 2, 3, 4. That means it's a set of those X which are in M1, M2, M3, M4, but not in the rest. But rest, there is no ideal, maximal ideal. So this will be my Jacobson radical. I think this partition is clear. This partition is clear. Now, once it is done, then what I can do here, there are a little bit of results which are there. Of course, I will not go into the technical details, but what I can say, I will try to convey you the message what we did here. If you take any two sets, say I1, I2, Ik, of course, when I'm saying that, I will abuse the notations when I'm writing R suffix I. So, and R is subset of, say, if I'm looking at this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, this is my I. So though I'm writing R suffix I, but while writing it, I write as R12. I do not write R singleton, doubleton 1, 2. I don't write this. So this is the abuse of notation. Okay. So hopefully these things are clear to you. Though I'm writing Ri, this is a set, but while writing it, I don't prefer to write this set. I prefer to write 1, 2. Is this part clear? This is a little bit of abuse of notation. And you can see that this is a disjoint union of Ri's. This is a disjoint union of Ri's. No elements will be repeated in either of Ri. Now, what is I? I is a subset of 1 to N. I is a subset of 1 to n. How many such a subsets are possible? Naturally 2 to the power n subsets are possible. Okay, so when I denote square R, what is my square R? It is a collection of Ri, where I is a subset of 1 to n, where I is a subset of 1 to n. And how many such a sets will be there? How many such a sets will be there? Naturally 2 to the power n sets will be there, provided this Ri is non-empty. This Ri is non-empty. Let us have one example so that things will be much more clear to you. So maybe I can use, yeah, here I have. This is 0. Let us call this is 1, 2, 3. This is no, or I can say A, B, C. This is 1. Right. Now, these are my maximal items. This is a Hasse diagram. When I look at, say, R12, this is for understanding purpose, I'm writing R12, right? So what are the elements? What are the elements?
1, 2.
0.
0 is there, but that element should not be in M3. This is 3, na? Are you getting it?
So it's empty.
Yes, very good. This is empty. Got it? 0 is there in the M1 intersection M2, but 0 is also there in M3. This is my M1. This is my M1, M2, and this is my M3. Okay, so 0 is there in M1 intersection M2, but I don't want an element which is also sitting in M3. That will be my R12. In fact, you can see that R13, R23 all are empty. You got it? You got it?
Yes, sir.
So once the construction, what will be R1? R1 will be A only. 0 won't be there, huh? 0 won't be, because 0 is there in M2. 0 is there in M3. Is this part clear? You got my point? Which are the elements which are in M1? These are the elements. A is there and 0 is there. A is there and 0 is there, right? But 0 is also there in M3. So I will not take that. Likewise, I will get R1 is A, R2 is B, R3 is C. Likewise. So in some cases, what I mean to say here, in some cases, this partition may be empty. You have to take care of it. Likewise, partitions may be empty, but we are able to prove that whatever partitions we are looking at, in each and every time we are getting non-empty partitions. Okay, is this part clear? And this is due to, again, Chinese remainder theorem.
I suppose you can also do this for Artinian rings.
Yes, that is true. But the main target which we are going for is the perfectness and weakly perfectness. So naturally we need sort of finiteness. So that's why we put finite ring. That's the reason. Nothing more than that. Otherwise, because for perfect graph theorem, you need to have that graph to be a finite graph. Okay, and if you are going for infinite graph, I cannot use that result. So that's why we took a finite ring so that everything becomes finite. But as far as partition is concerned, yes, what you are saying is correct. I can go for Artinian rings. That won't be any trouble as such.
And partition will also be finite.
Yes,
even for
Yes.
Artinian ring.
Yes, 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 yes. So hopefully partitions are clear. Now what I'm doing, what is a square R now? It is a collection of all partitions that the equivalence classes where I is a subset of 1 to n. Right? And as I told you, each partition is non-empty. Therefore, how many such a possible equivalence classes I do have? I do have 2 to the power n. So naturally, I have in square R 2 to the power n elements, 2 to the power n elements, including R5. Keep in mind, including R5.
Sir, why all partitions are non-empty?
You can prove it. You need little bit of proof is needed.
Okay.
You have to use the co-maximality of the maximal ideals and apply the Chinese remainder theorem. Okay, so
Okay.
then
sir.
and only then you can prove. So that is the main part of it. And now what I'm doing, I'm defining a partial order on the equivalence classes. Just like a compressed zero divisor graph, it is sort of a equivalence classes we are playing with it, and we do define a partial ordering on this square R. And you will observe that Ri is subset of Rj if and only if I is subset of J. And this becomes a poset. Later on, you can prove that square R is a finite Boolean lattice. That means it is isomorphic to power set of some finite set. In fact, this square R, if R has say n maximal ideals, then this will be isomorphic to power set of X where cardinality of X is n. Power set of X where cardinality of X is n. So this is very nice structure with what we are getting. Now, the interesting part here is that once we have R as a Boolean lattice, from that one more lattice we are constructing. It's not the final construction what we are expecting right now. So it is a in-between construction of a lattice. Now what we are doing, this is what one simple example I will try to illustrate to you. Consider the ring Z30. Consider the ring Z30. Okay, and now I have to construct square R. This is my square R. Right? While constructing square R, I have to look at the partitions. Okay, what is my R5? What is R5? It's a collection of all units. Can you see it here? These are the units. R5. Now R1, so I have three maximal ideals. Let us call M1 is ideal generated by 2, M2 is ideal generated by 3, M3 is ideal generated by 4. Oh, sorry, 5. Ideal generated by 5. Is that okay? These are the maximal ideals, right? In R1, you will observe that these two elements are not there. Why? Because they are in M3. You got point? You got my point? 2 is there, 4 is there, 8 is there, 10 is not there. Why? Because 10 is in ideal generated by 5. So I'm throwing out which are there in the other maximal ideals. So likewise, R1 is here, R2, you can see, R3, you can see here. And these are the items. So this is in some sense, this will represent. Is this okay? A sort of understanding you will get. Now, in R12, these are the elements which are present in intersection. Okay, and R13 again M1 and M3, which are there in R13 and R23, and this will be the Jacobson radical. This is your Jacobson radical of Z30. I think hopefully things are clear. Yeah? Things are clear?
Yes, sir.
So I got a lattice, which is a Boolean lattice 2 to the power 3, and which is constructed from a ring Z30. Constructed from a ring Z30. Now, what I'm doing here, from this lattice, I'm constructing a new poset. In fact, it's a lattice, and I'm denoting it by L. I'm denoting it by L. Now, just look at this R1 again. Look at this R1. What is R1? R1 is not an element as such. It will be a set of elements. R1 is a set of elements. So what I'm doing, I will replace this by this set. Try to understand. I will replace this R1 element by a chain of elements. What do you mean by chain? So chain means it's a totally ordered set. Totally ordered set means what? Means what? Any two elements are comparable. Any two elements are comparable. Okay. Now again the question will arise, how to do the ordering? How to do the ordering? Don't worry. Whatever order you feel, you give it. Only thing, what names are not important here. What I'm doing now, look at this. This is my R1. Do you observe? If somebody wrote here instead of 8, 4 and here 8, doesn't matter. Okay, no issue at all. No issue at all. So ordering is not important. So what you are doing, you are replacing an element of square R by a chain of elements. What is the cardinality of this chain? What is the cardinality of this chain? The cardinality of R1. Cardinality of R1. Same story here also. Oh, sorry. Here also. Again, I'm replacing R2 by these many elements. You can see that in R2, how many elements are there? 4 elements are here. 3, 9, 21, 27. 3, 9, 21, 27. Okay. So likewise, essentially what I did, whatever Boolean algebra or power set I do have, that is extended. Just pull it from bottom and upside. And this will be elongated power set, some sort of. So I think construction of this L is clear to you.
So this also is a lattice, right?
Yes. Yes. We have to prove it. Little bit of things are there, but we can prove it. In fact, the interesting part is this is my R, square R. From square R, I'm constructing this L. And there are concepts of zero distributive lattice. Maybe this may be known to those who are working in lattice theory, but those who are not working in lattice theory, they might find it sort of distributivity which is true for 0. So usually what we will do, if distributivity is there, then this will be A meet B join A meet C. Is that okay? If distributivity is there. And since A meet B is 0, this is 0, so 0 join 0, 0. So this is there. Sort of distributivity playing with 0. So there is a concept of zero distributive lattice, and dual of it is one distributive. What will be one distributive? So A join B is 1, which is same as A join C. Then this will imply that A join B meet C is 1. A join B meet C is 1. That is one distributive. And you can prove that this lattice is zero distributive as well as one distributive. This lattice is zero distributivity as well as one distributive. You have to little bit play with it and you can prove it. It is zero distributive as well as one distributive. Once it is there, then this is what the final result, what we are getting here. So if I want to summarize the thing, what I did here is R was given to me. From R, I constructed square R, that is Boolean. From square R, I constructed L, which is 0 distributive and 1 distributive. Okay, then yeah, I will drop this. Now, yeah, that is also not. Yes, one more result is there. One more result is there that actually this result is written in different language not in the sense different than other than English, but the notations are different, meanings is different. But if you look at in our perspective, it is the same thing which I'm talking right now. Okay, so what it says, the ideal X and ideal Y, that is the principal ideal generated by X and principal ideal generated by Y, both are co-maximal if and only if whatever X and Y which are sitting inside the partitions, okay, X is sitting in partition, say Ri, Y is sitting in the partition Rj, right? And look at that suffix I and J, their intersection has to be empty. And that's a if and only if statement. This is the nice observation, what we observed from these two papers. Of course, if you go through paper, you will not immediately be able to understand this observation. But once you thoroughly understand what we did and then look at that paper, probably you will be able to extract this fact. So essentially what it means, in some sense, try to understand. X is adjacent to Y in co-maximal graph. This is what, right? Because when X and Y are adjacent in co-maximal graph, if the principal ideals are co-maximal, So if they are co-maximal, then they are adjacent, and this is in terms of I intersection J is empty. And this helped a lot. Using this, we are able to prove that gamma to R means what? It's a co-maximal graph throwing out these two sets. Because as we have observed while defining the co-maximal graph, if any two elements you pick up from U of R, that is units, any two elements which are there in units, they are naturally will generate whole ring R. So they will be adjacent. So this will constitute complete graph, right? This will constitute a complete graph because you take any two units, they are adjacent. And if I take any two elements from this, they won't be adjacent. They will form an independent set. So this gamma to R is nothing but the zero divisor graph of this lattice A. Gamma to R, that is a co-maximal graph, is nothing but the zero divisor graph of this lattice L. But initially, if you look at the definition given by Sharma and Bhatodekar, this gamma 2 was not there. What was that? That was gamma R. So how to construct gamma R from gamma 2R? That is the question. Okay. So essentially what we did there, so gamma 1 means throw out only units from gamma. In gamma 2, what we are doing, you can see here, in gamma 2, we are throwing out elements which are there in the Jacobson radical as well as in the units, right? As well as in the units. In the gamma 1, we are just throwing out units. And this will be a subgraph of gamma. And how we are getting this? Gamma 1 is my zero divisor graph with IM. What is IM? That is the complement of KM. That is the independent set. Okay. What is the cardinality? Cardinality is nothing but the cardinality of J of R. Cardinality is nothing but cardinality of Jacobson radical. How many elements are there in the Jacobson radical? So what we have to do, so this is my G of L, and what is my, these are my, suppose I have 4 maximal ideals. So this will be the, this is my GL, and just put these 2 copies side by side. That will be the join, not the join, addition here. Okay. Now, once you have this thing, then how you will get gamma R? Gamma R is this graph and KL. Now here you have complete graph. Let us say this is my complete graph. This is my complete. Okay. Then what you will do, all these lines will be joined. This is the join of the graph. This is the join of the graph. So how to define join? So if you have 2 independent sets, so for example, this is my G1, this is my G2. What will be this? So this element will be joined to this one. This element will join to this one. So this will be my G1 join G2. So all the elements are joined. All the elements of G1 are joined to all the elements of G2. Okay, that will be my G1 join G2. So this will be the join. So essentially gamma R is what you can say that GL plus IM join KL. GL plus IM join KL. And what is M? M is nothing but the cardinality of Jacobson radical, and what is L? L is nothing but the cardinality of units. So I received gamma R now completely from the zero device graph of a lattice. What is the good part of it? Now I'm not looking at the ring structure. I'm just looking at the zero device graph. Now, once this picture is with me, so this is my gamma R. Gamma R is GL plus IM join KL. Now, let us go back to the result by Sharma and Bhatodekar. What it says that gamma R, the co-maximal graph, is weakly perfect. Naturally, the complete graph is weakly perfect. Naturally, the complete graph is in fact a perfect graph, right? Therefore, it is weakly perfect. Independent set, yes, it is weakly perfect. So I have to play with this only. That means if GL is weakly perfect, my job is already done. Okay. So the problem of weakly perfectness of co-maximal graph reduces to weakly perfectness of zero device graph of a lattice L. And in fact, it is already known that the zero device graph of partially ordered set, not only lattices, but the partially ordered sets, they are weakly perfect. And because of that, I can get back to gamma R and I can say that they are weakly perfect. So essentially, the conclusion is that the study of co-maximal graph of a ring R is nothing but the study of zero device graph of a 0-1 distributed lattice. This becomes a very good tool. As such, this becomes a bridge while learning the co-maximal graphs of ring and zero device graph of lattices. In particular, cosets I can go. Okay, so this is what the thing which I talked here. And so naturally we will get these 2 results as a corollary. But keep in mind, the complement of co-maximal is weakly perfect or not, that was not known. In fact, that is not known till date. As per my knowledge. Recently, in 2018, with my student Sarika Devaria and our co-author Professor John Lagrange from US, we are able to show that the complement of zero device graph of a partially ordered set is weakly perfect. That is a good part of it. So that this paper is completely based on that result only. So complete one paper is there to prove that GCP is weakly perfect. So it took a lot of efforts to prove this part, but ultimately we are able to. In fact, because of that, intersection graphs of I think I was not present actually. Professor Shamik Ghosh talked about the intersection graphs, right? And what we proved here is the intersection graphs can be studied via the zero divisor graph complement of the zero divisor graphs. And because of the weakly perfectness of the complement of zero divisor graph, weakly perfectness of complement of zero divisor graphs, we are able to prove that intersection graphs of ideals of ring are weakly perfect. That's a very good consequence of this result. Now here in our case right now, the complement of co-maximal graph of a finite commutator ring R with identity is weakly perfect because of this theorem phi. So that is an additional what you can say advantage we are getting because of this construction of a lattice from a ring R. Okay, so this is the weakly perfectness. Not only that, maybe a few minutes I will talk about and then probably I will stop. Then there is one more concept of co-maximal ideal graph. Instead of taking elements, you take ideals as an vertices, and again the same story. I and J are adjacent if their ideal sum is whole ring R. That means I and J are co-maximal ideals. And what we did here again, I will not go in much detail. Yeah, I will talk about a little bit of dual of lattice. This is a lattice L, and this is a dual. Now you can see that this is inverted through 180 degree. So this is the partial order. Okay, so that is the dual. So just invert it through 180 degree. So this becomes a dual of. So what we observed, if you look at the commutator ring R with unity, then IDR, what is the IDR? IDR is nothing but the ideal lattice of R. This is my IDR. Okay, ideal lattice of R is my IDR. And if I take it star, that will be the dual of ideal lattice. And this becomes a atomic modular zero distributive lattice. This fact you can get from Athia's book also. In Athia's book, not exactly in the same language with what I'm telling you, but essentially it is the same thing which I'm writing here. This becomes IDR star. IDR star means dual of it, dual of IDR. This becomes a distributive lattice. It's a atomic lattice and it's a moreover modular lattice. So this is known. And what we did here, this is a result with my student Nilesh Khandekar. We are able to prove that the co-maximal ideal graph of a ring R is nothing but the zero divisor graph of L star. What is L star? L star is a dual of IDR. Means again, there is no need to look at the co-maximal ideal graph. Just simply look at the zero divisor graphs of ordered sets. And since this graph is weakly perfect, yes, CGR is also weakly. So, and lot of things which are true for zero divisor graphs of ordered set, I can directly apply to co-maximal ideal graphs also. So again, this is the very nice part of it. In fact, as I told you, because what is IDR star? See, if I look at IDR, what will be IDR? So just look at, for understanding purpose, this is my maximal ideal M1, say M2, this is my M3, and this is my whole ring R. Something is here, and this is your zero ideal. This is my idea. Is that okay? This will be the Hasse diagram, something like this. Maximal ideals will be at the second bottom line. Whole ring will be the greatest element. This is the ideal lattice under set inclusion, right? If you invert it, this will be 0. Here is M1, M2, M3. This is 0, ideal. And now these are atoms. Look at this. Very nice relation I'm getting. I have inverted my IDR. A maximal ideal becomes some atoms. And as I told you in the very initial part, that the number of colors which are required to color the zero divisor graph of a poset are nothing but number of atoms. And number of atoms are nothing but the number of maximal ideals of that ring R. And therefore, I'm getting this one. So immediately we get that, yes, the zero divisor, the co-maximal ideal graph as well as its complement, both are weakly perfect. And likewise, there is a perfect graph theorem. I will not go in much detail. So what we did here, just a little bit of things, I will try to show it to you. This is a result by Avinash Patil, Wafari sir, and myself. The zero divisor graph of a zero distributive lattice is perfect if and only if it does not contain a mixed subsimilarity isomorphic to this. Okay, so this lattice should not be there as a mixed subsimilarities. Okay, and interestingly, what we are able to prove that GL is perfect if and only if you have at the most 4 atoms. You have at the most 4 atoms. Okay, and as I told you, the atoms and maximal ideals are in 1-1 correspondence. Atoms and maximal ideals are in 1-1 correspondence, that too in zero distributive lattice I'm talking. Naturally, what I'm getting is gamma R, that is the co-maximal graph, is perfect if and only if its subgraph is perfect. If and only if gamma 2, that is the co-maximal graph, is perfect. CGR, that is co-maximal ideal graph, is perfect if and only if max R is less equal 4. Why max R? Because maximal ideals are in 1-1 correspondence with number of atoms, and we proved that number of atoms are at most 4. Number of atoms are at most 4, and as a consequence, we are able to prove that the graphs are perfect if and only if you have at most 4 maximal ideals. So in nutshell, what we did here is a lot of other properties of co-maximal graphs and co-maximal ideal graphs are done. That is, planarity is done, Eulerian Hamiltonicity is done, total coloring conjecture is considered, connectivity of the complement of co-maximal graphs. So a lot of things we could settle down using the zero divisor graphs of order sets. So this is what the recent work which we have. These are some references which we are using. Yeah. So this is a paper where the perfect graph story started. So this was the first paper, of course, in German, which talks about the perfect graphs. So these are the few papers. Yes. Hopefully things are clear. Yes, if you have any doubt, yes, certainly you can ask.
The lattice you constructed for the co-maximal graph earlier, that is it a Boolean poset?
No.
Okay.
No. If it is a Boolean poset, the things will be much more easy.
Right.
Lot of good thing happens to Boolean posets.
Yeah.
If it is a Boolean algebra, more good things will happen. But it's not. It is not a modular also, unfortunately. You can see one example here, the same example which I considered here. This is not modular in fact. N5 is there. N5 is there.
Okay.
So it's not modular. So in fact, one thing definitely those who are interested in working in this area, I can certainly say that the graphs associated with algebraic structures can be very well studied via zero divisor graphs of ordered sets. This is what our observation, our group is working in that direction. In fact, I can say that almost, if I'm not mistaken, almost 10 graphs we have tackled via zero divisor graphs of ordered sets. Few more, definitely I can tell you: intersection graphs of ideals of a ring R, intersection graphs of subgroups of a group G, then the co-maximal ideal graph, co-maximal graph, then the total graph, total graph of lattices, again, total graph of lattices, and many more. Likewise, almost 10 graphs we could handle via annihilating ideal graphs that we can handle via zero divisor graphs of ordered sets. Always what we do, we try to construct a suitable poset. That is what the idea is. And most of the times we succeeded, and therefore we could achieve the results via zero divisor graphs.
Okay. Are there any further questions?
Everyone is eager to go to home. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So if there are no further questions, let us thank the speaker, who is also the organizer of this workshop, for this nice talk. So last time also, within the second or the third day, he talked, but then there was some emergency and he had to leave in between. So yeah, so thank you for this nice talk on behalf of all the participants. A big thank you.
Thank you. These are accidental talks. So the one more lesson I will definitely try to convey to you. Those who are organizers, they have to prepare at least 1 or 2 talks, at least. Whenever there is any emergency, you have to do the batting. So at least 2-3 talks you have to have in your pocket, so that whenever emergency is there, you should be ready. So this is what the yeah.
Thank you, sir.
There is some noise
Okay.
from somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the zero divisor graph of Boolean ring is a co-maximal graph of which ordered poset set?
What we are saying, I think that in both in Boolean rings that will coincide with, see, just one observation I will definitely tell you. First of all, the zero divisor graph of a Boolean ring is nothing but the zero divisor graph of a Boolean algebra, which is extracted from the Boolean ring. Okay, and then therefore the co-maximal graph will remain same. This is what my expectation. Yeah. So actually, one article we are writing dealing with the Boolean algebra only. So there are lot of graphs are coinciding with each other. Yeah.
Sir, you mainly talked about the perfectness and weakly perfectness. So are there any other properties you are working on?
There are many. Just like the last slide I showed you, Eulerian Hamiltonicity, then total coloring conjecture, and many more properties. Planarity is there, toroidalness is there. So many more properties are already tackled.
Okay.
So one such aspect I took here and illustrated to you. That's it, nothing more than that. Okay, so with this I should conclude. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, and thank you
Thank
for
you,
giving
sir.
opportunity.
You should be thanking yourself.
Yes. So tomorrow we will meet